So, the spiritual man, remember the chapter is the evolution, the ascent of evolution, the evolutionary process, ascent and integration. This is something that Ranga is contributing. Evolution, and many people have biological evolution has been given by Darwin. Nobody has spoken about the spiritual evolution. So Ranga has spoken about the spiritual evolution of consciousness, and now it is understood, and many people do talk about it. But Ranga is adding one more thing. This evolution does not reject the lower stages. It incorporates them. That is why the chapter is ascent and integration. And this is the exact opposite of what the Mayavadins do. The Mayavadins don't want to incorporate body and life. They want to reject it. So this is the speciality of Srivno. No rejection of the lower stages. They have to be integrated. That's the whole point. Okay? So, I read each sentence and then we'll discuss it if it is not free. 750. The spiritual man is a sign of this new evolution. Until now, the evolution has reached the mental stage. First of all, from matter came life, and from life came mind. Now it has gone beyond, and the spiritual man, who has been there for thousands of years, but is not recognized publicly and in a very mass movement, it is not recognized. Now it is there. The spiritual man is a sign of this new evolution. The spiritual man goes beyond the mind. He has access to knowledge which is not available in the mental range. This newer and higher endeavor of nature. But this evolution differs from the past process of the evolutionary energy in two respects. The past process of the evolutionary energy in two aspects. It is conducted by a conscious effort of the human mind, and it is not confined to a conscious progression of the surface nature, but is accompanied by an attempt to break the walls of the ignorance and extend ourselves inward into the secret principle of our present being and outward into cosmic as well as upward towards a higher principle. So, Srenda is talking about evolution, and the first one, he is talking of two different ways. The first is that until now, evolution was mechanical and not it is just not without the particle. It is unconscious mechanical evolution. That is why it took thousands of years. Actually, science is millions of years. From matter to life to appear in a million years, and then slowly faster from life to mind, and from mind to the spiritual planes even faster. But even then it is a very slow process. The whole process is slow. So first is when man comes into the picture, the mind comes into the picture, man can now consciously make his own evolution. In other words, yoga is not possible for the animal, but it is certainly possible for man. And that is, naturally, if something is intentional and consciously you do something, it can go much faster and much more completely also. So that's the first aspect. The second aspect is, of simply explaining, look at the what way he is saying. Earlier, even in the spiritual man, they were interested only in going upwards, up to the higher mind or the spiritual planes. Liberation was the intention. But now Swami is saying the evolution has taken on another character altogether. It is not only liberation. It's not only going up to the spiritual planes of consciousness and saying the achievement. This achievement is enough. Liberation is enough. We don't need to take birth anymore. But now Swami is saying you have to go inwards, upwards, and around in the universe. So inverse is the psychic transformation. Going outwards ends up in the cosmic consciousness. You become the universe. And the third is going upwards. That's the spiritual transformation. And the spiritual transformation is followed by the supramental transformation. So there is the difference in the earlier evolution and the evolution as it is now understood. So I read that portion again. But this evolution differs from the past process of the evolutionary energy in two respects. It is conducted by a conscious effort of the human mind, and it is not confined to a conscious progression of the surface nature. To the conscious progression of the surface nature, but is accompanied by an attempt to break the walls of the ignorance and extend ourselves inward, first of all inward, towards psyche, into the secret principle of our present being. The secret principle of our present being is nothing but the psyche. And outward into cosmic being. We have to go outward into cosmic being, which is possible in the spiritual planes of consciousness. So he's talking of the spiritual transformation. Then finally, upwards towards a higher principle. He's saying it in very guarded words, but it is the triple transformation that he's talking about. The psychic transformation, the spiritual transformation. The psychic transformation gives it purity. It gives purity and devotion and love. This spiritual transformation gives you knowledge, vastness, liberation. And then finally, the supramental transformation gives you also the power and ananda. Both. Power as well as ananda and knowledge. So this is the character of the evolutionary process as it is understood now in Sri philosophy. Up till now, what nature has achieved was an enlarging of the bounds of our surface knowledge, ignorance. This is what science is doing. Science is extending the bounds of our surface knowledge, ignorance. It is not going towards spiritual knowledge. It is going towards quantitative knowledge of the physical world, not qualitative change. Okay? Quantitative. We know more and more about matter. We know more and more about life, and we know a little less perhaps, but a little more of the mind also. The quantitative change. Now it's a qualitative change. What is attempted in the spiritual endeavor is to abolish the ignorance. Completely, you have to go towards vidya, spiritual knowledge, to go inwards and discover the soul, and to become united in consciousness with God and with all existence. So when you unite yourself with God, it's a transcendent. And if you do that with the all existence, then it's the cosmic God. So this is the final aim of the mental stage of evolutionary nature in man. It is the initial step towards a radical transmutation of the ignorance into the knowledge. This spiritual change begins by an influence of the inner being and the higher spiritual mind. Inner being, the intraconscient, including the psyche. Begins with the influence by an influence of the inner mind and the higher spiritual mind. Higher spiritual mind, higher mind, element mind, intuitive mind, over those four planes. An action felt and accepted on the surface. So, you admit, even in your body-mind life, that these are the two things which are necessary. But this by itself can lead only to an illumined mental idealism or to the growth of a religious mind, a religious temperament, and some devotion in the heart and piety in the conduct. Piety is a conventional reverence and respect for elders and religion, your parents and society, and piety. Today morning only I checked up the the dictionary, because it came in one of my readings in the morning. Some devotion. So, what Singha is saying is spiritual transformation gives you a religious feeling and some devotion, and it cannot make a radical change. More aspirant. What do you mean by radical change? The body remains the same, the vital may be slightly different, and the mind may be slightly more knowledgeable, but it is not a radical change. What is the radical change? He wants the body to become divine. That's the radical change. So, more has to be done. We have to live deeper within. We have to, what's that word? I don't know. We have to exceed our present consciousness and surpass our present status of nature. This is what he's saying. He's saying it in a very guarded way. He's referring to triple transformation. First of all, the psychic, by going inwards into yourself, then you have to go upwards into the spiritual plane of consciousness. That will give you a lot of knowledge. Also devotion and a bit of power, but not full power. So the world remains exactly as it is. So to change the world, you have to go up to the spiritual, supramental plane, where you get the power also. You get knowledge and ananda and all that is there, but the power becomes fully operative in the supramental world. This is what we say. Now we go to the next paragraph. It is evident that if we can live thus deeper within us. So who will read?
I'm reading Ranga.
Okay, go
Am I
ahead.
audible?
Yes, very, very audible. Go ahead.
It is evident that if we can live thus deeper within and put out steadily the inner forces into the outer instrumentation, or raise ourselves to dwell on higher and wider levels, and bring their powers to bear on physical existence, not merely receive influences descending from them, which is all we can now do, there could begin a heightening of our force of conscious being so as to create a new principle of consciousness, a new range of activities, new values for all things, a widening of our consciousness and life, a taking up and transformation of the lower grades of our existence. In brief, the whole evolutionary process by which the spirit in nature creates a higher type of being. Each step could mean a pace, however distant from the goal, or a close approach leading to a larger and more divine being, a larger and more divine force and consciousness, knowledge and will, sense of existence and delight in existence. There could be an initial unfolding towards the divine life. All religion, all occult knowledge, all supernormal as opposed to abnormal, psychological experience, all yoga, all psychic experience and discipline are signposts and directions pointing us upon that road of progress of the occult self unfolding spirit.
Yeah. So again, he is using very guarded language, but he is telling us, because he is taking us by the hand and showing us that you have to go even more, even more, even more. He is not giving any names, and he is not saying exactly what those higher things are. He will tell you probably later. So, it is evident that if we can dig thus deeper within and put out steadily the inner forces into the outer instrumentation, or raise ourselves to dwell on higher and wider levels and bring their powers to bear on physical existence, not merely receive influences descending from them, this is all we can now do, there could begin a heightening of our force of conscious being so as to create a new principle of consciousness, a new range of activities, new values for all things, a widening of our consciousness and life, a taking up and transformation of the lower grades in our existence. In brief, the whole evolutionary process by which the spirit in nature creates a higher type of being. One sentence. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11 lines, one. So we have to go phrase by phrase. This is those phrases global. His language is global. Someone used the word global for Sringo's language, and he found it very interesting, and he said, yes, it's a very interesting word. Okay, that's exactly how it is. Somebody else had used the word global for his writings. In one letter, he admits that. Now, I go step by step. It is evident that if you can live thus deeper within remains the psychic, and put out steadily the inner forces into the outer instrumentation. What does it mean? The outer instrumentation is the body mind life, and the inner forces are the inner mind, inner vital, and inner physical. And the inner mind, inner vital, inner physical, in the intraconscious, or what we call the subliminal, okay, they are far superior to our outer mind, outer vital, and outer body. Far superior. And they try to send their intimations into the outer, but normally in normal man we don't receive. But if you go and get to the psychic touch, then these influences come out into the mind and it changes life drastically. Okay? So that's what he's saying. It's evident, not so evident at all, but it's evident for him and those who know about the psychic. It is evident that if we can live this deeper within and put out steadily, so put out, going into and telling the outer body-mind life what the true values of mind, life and body should be. Out steadily the inner forces into the outer instrumentation. Or another possibility, raise ourselves to dwell on higher and wider levels and bring their powers to bear on physical existence. I raise my consciousness to the spiritual planes, whatever it be, even the higher mind. Now, note the word higher and wider. Wider means it becomes more universal. You are not limited to one section only. You have access to the whole universe and all the forces there. So higher and wider. Bring their powers to bear on physical existence. Not merely to receive influences descending from them. Now, we recognize when you go to the spiritual plane of consciousness, your body-mind life realizes that these have greater powers and you can have access to them. But these powers from above don't have the power to change your body-mind life. Okay? And that's what he means by influences descending on them, which is all we can do now. Now means when you are at a spiritual level only, you can only receive those forces without the power to change the body-mind life. That's all you can do now. That's what he's saying. Which is all we can do now. But if you can go to the higher and get the power to take the spiritual light, consciousness, power, ananda, and bring it down into the physical, not only receive and be conscious, but bring it down and make it operative in the body-mind life, then what happens? He's saying, then it could begin a heightening of our force of consciousness, so as to create a new principle of consciousness. This is what I mean by the supramental. A new principle of consciousness, a new range of activities, new values for all things. Now that's interesting. New values for all things. Okay? When you are at the material level, the values are purely physical. When you go to the higher life level, the new values come in for life. When you go to the mental level, they become moral values. When you go to the spiritual plane of consciousness, moral values disappear and are replaced by spiritual values. Morality does not apply anymore in the spiritual life. Then when you go to the supramental level, Mother says, even the spiritual values become different. So this is what we mean by new values for all things. Even in the spiritual plane, the values are fantastic, far, far superior to our normal. But the supramental Mother says, surprising, even the spiritual values are surpassed. That's what he says. So this is what Sindhu is meaning here with one phrase only. He's saying, new values for all things. A widening of our consciousness and life. A taking up and transformation of the lower grades of our existence. Naturally, this new principle of consciousness, if it has got the power to transform the lower grades, your body, mind, life, then naturally it's a supermind only. This new principle is only supermind can do that. Normal spiritual levels can't do that. They can change to a certain extent. Okay? The spiritual planes of consciousness can transform your mind. They can also partly transform your vital. But they can do nothing with the body. Some amount of change will be there. We know very clearly that Swamin's body became luminous. And his whole, in the record of yoga, he mentions how the spiritual planes are transforming him. He speaks very interestingly. There's a whole process, physical process that happens. The saliva thickens, the hair gets glossy without oil. He had mentioned all these things in the record of yoga. Okay. Then the toenails start changing their shape. Okay. The skin starts becoming lighter and lighter. Even the average dark brownish color, more on the dark side, and that became absolutely a luminous golden color. So some amount of change will be there. But the body function didn't change. Okay, he had to undergo the process of death also. But supermind will change all that. Even the body will become supermental substance. And death can also be abolished. That's what it means by transformation of the lower grades of our existence. In brief, the whole evolutionary process by which the spirit in nature creates a higher type of being. Not a normal human being or not even a spiritual being, but a higher type of being. He means the supermental, the superman. Okay. Look at the words, he is still not revealing, but in the letters and all that he uses different words. So what he means by spirit in nature creating a higher type of being, he is referring to the superman. Each step could mean a pace. One step, evolution is going. However distant from the goal, or a close approach leading to a larger and more divine being, a larger and more divine force and consciousness, knowledge and will, sense of existence and delight of existence, delight in existence. There could be an initial unfolding towards the divine. So when you go to the spiritual planes of consciousness, an initial unfolding only starts. So all religion, all occult knowledge, all supernormal as opposed to abnormal. Now that's also interesting. What does it mean? When you go to the spiritual planes of consciousness, there can be two things. One can be a supernormal, but there can also be an abnormal. That abnormality is very interesting, because usually it can happen to in a spiritual life. Okay? You can, and that is described as the four Balavat, Unmatvat, Pishachavat, Jadavat. Okay? These are the phenomena that is talking about the abnormal. In the physical world, the spiritual man starts behaving in an abnormal manner. Okay? We have seen 2-3 examples in the ashram also. One was a Bengali man. He was Balavat. He behaved like a small child, but he was in a very high level of consciousness. So, there are several things which point to that. His name was Suren Pagla. So, he was like a Balavat. Mother used to treat him very kindly. But his complaints were all very, very crude and very, very material. And my tap is not working, my window is not closing, all sorts of small things. Mother would be very, very solicitous to him. Then there was another case also where it becomes unmatava, like a mad person. You lose completely your consciousness at a higher level, but you have no control over your body mind. That's also possible. And Jadavat also, there is a case in Tamil Nadu recently in 1985. In the 80s, he passed it. He is at a higher level of consciousness, but he doesn't do anything, just like a stone. He will sit. If you give him food, he will eat. If you give him a cigarette, he will smoke. If you give him a bath, he will accept. If you don't give him, he won't do anything. They just sit quietly. Jadavar. But people used to go to him and he used to tell you the future, he used to guide them. So, his name was Pundu Swami. Potu in Tamil means garlic. But his name was Pundu Swami. You can go to the internet and check this. Very interesting. Pundu Swami. So that was Jadavar. So all these things are possible. And that's what it means by abnormal. You may be in a spiritual consciousness, but abnormal. Psychological experience. All yoga, all psychic experience and discipline are signposts and directions pointing us upon that road of progress of the occult self-unfolding spirit. So evolution is very, very slow, but now we are on the cusp of a totally different type of evolution. It will take time. So I'm just saying, I don't know how long it takes. It could be slow, it could be fast. Look at the words he is using. Okay. He's saying, however distant from the goal, or a close approach, leading to a larger end. So, Mother also refused to say how long it will take for the supermind to become as visible as cats and dogs. That's the language she uses. It will take some time. It could be 300 years, it could be 1,000 years, as Mother has said. 300 years or 1,000 years. 300 minimum. And 1,000 also it could be. You can't say. And why is it that you can't say? Because the supramental consciousness would be at the infinite level. And when you are at the infinite level, infinite possibilities. So when you are at a normal spiritual consciousness, however high your spiritual consciousness is, you cannot say how long it will take. Okay? That's why very clearly he is saying, okay, however distant from the goal, or a close approach. It could be fast, it could be very, very far away. So that completes the para. We are at 27. We have got about 12 minutes, 12, 13 minutes. We can read the next one. But the human race is still weighted by a certain gravitation towards the physical. So one more person has to read. Who will read? Kiran can read if you want. And if Kiran has got the text, she can read. Otherwise, if she doesn't have the text, Yasmin can read. I think Kiran is not there.
Yes, Ranga.
You have the text?
Yes.
Go ahead, read. For the human race. Yasmin reads quite often, but you read less. So you read. But the human race.
But the human race is still weighted by a certain gravitation towards the physical. It obeys still the pull of our yet unconquered earth matter. It is dominated by the brain mind, the physical intelligence. Thus held back by many ties, it hesitates before the indication or falls back before the too tense demand of the spiritual effort. It has, too, still a great capacity for a skeptical folly, an immense indolence, an enormous intellectual and spiritual timidity, and conservatism when called out of the grooves of habit. Even the constant evidence of life itself that where it chooses to conquer, it can conquer. Witness the miracles of that quite inferior power, physical science, does not prevent it from doubting. It repels the new call and leaves the response to a few individuals. But that is not enough. If the step forward is to be for humanity, for it is only if the race advances that for it, the victories of the spirit can be secured. For then, even if there is a lapse of nature, a fall in our effort, the spirit within, employing a secret memory, sometimes represented on the lower side, that of downward gravitation, as an atavistic force in the race, but really the force of a persistent memory in nature, which can pull us either upward or downward. Will call will will call it upward again, and the next ascent will be both easier and more lasting because of the past endeavor, For that endeavor and its impulse and its result cannot but remain stored in the subconscious mind of humanity. Who can say what victories of the kind may have been achieved in our past cycles and how near may be the next ascension? It is not indeed necessary or possible that the whole race should transform itself from mental into spiritual beings, but a general admission of the ideal. A widespread endeavor, a conscious concentration are needed to carry the stream of tendency to its definitive achievement. Otherwise, what will be ultimately accomplished is an achievement by the few initiating a new order of beings, while humanity will have passed sentence of unfitness on itself and may fall back into an evolutionary decline or a stationary immobility. For it is the constant upward effort that has kept humanity alive and maintained for it its place in the front of creation.
So, simply saying, when we speak about evolution and spiritual progress and all spiritual experience, it seems to be very, very easy. But it is not easy. That's exactly what he's saying in this paragraph. He's saying that there's a huge resistance to progress upwards. And this huge resistance is not ill will. It is a necessary law. Why? Because if this law of keeping things as they are is not there, what will happen? Everything will go on floating and changing. So the power to keep something fixed is something very important. And that is the reason for the principle of tamas. Okay? The tamas guarantees that there is no progress, that there is no change. And that is the reason why physical objects remain exactly as they are without changing. Otherwise the stone will start melting and becoming something else. Okay? Our body will not change slowly, but will change very fast. So this is the resistance of matter. It is the principle of tamas. It does not allow easy progress. Yes, you can do, but go step by step. This is exhausting. And it's a very interesting paragraph. We will read through this paragraph next time, but I will now read the summary so that we have an understanding of what is saying. Sometimes, when you read Sri, after having read the paragraph, it is up to you to find out what is he answering. So you have to say to yourself, what is he saying in this paragraph? So you have to give a question to yourself, and you will see that he is answering that question. Okay? So now, the question that I have formulated for this paragraph is, what are the difficulties preventing the upward and inward journey? There are very slow progress. Why? What is the use? Now he is telling you what those problems are. The gravitational force of matter is immense. Let us know that it is this downward pull that ensures stability of forms and ensures too that a very fast and unprepared evolution does not occur, which, if allowed, could be disastrous. Each step of the way has to be prepared, secured, concretized before the next can be attempted. Otherwise, you will fall flat on your nose. It's like building a house. If your foundation is not strong, then it will collapse. And the houses are collapsing very often. New constructions are collapsing. It's much more dangerous in the spiritual field. You have to go step by step, make every stage absolutely strong and durable, and then build on top. Okay? That's why this law of the gravitation is so important. It is not something negative, it is something positive. But that all the stages have negative and positive aspects. Ego was the helper, ego was the bar, ego is the helper. Mental knowledge is a huge progress, but it also becomes an obstacle to spiritual level. And this goes on right up to the spiritual level also. Each step of the way has to be prepared, secured, concretized before you can go to the next. Man is weighted down by the petty needs of the body, the excessive demands of the desire vital, the severe limitations of the normal brain mind. The mind of man has doubt, unreasonable hesitation, foolishness, fear of the unknown future, and unwillingness to go beyond the normal comfort zone, in spite of the fact that the insistent will always triumphs. Look at the miracles wrought by science. If you have enough determination, you will be victorious. In spite of that, the human mind meekly succumbs in the face of seemingly formidable obstacles. It leaves the greatest effort to the elite individuals, itself remaining static in its endurance. So, very few people have that capacity, like science, to triumph. I will conquer, I will get the result. So, very few. The rest of them are all in a static laziness, indolence and laziness. But the next general, widespread step of evolution can be successfully taken only if a large part of humanity climbs to new heights and answers to the spiritual challenging call. Otherwise, the status quo would be prolonged unless an active retrogression takes place. So, even falling backward also is possible, said they say. But only if a few people reach the spiritual planes. It is not enough. You have to have a large number of a body who will be changing consciousness. That is the whole idea of building the ashram and all of it. Let the whole community be concentrated on the work to be done, not the normal humanity and normal society. So it's like if you take one stick, you can break it easily. But the same quality of sticks, you take 10 sticks, you will see it's far difficult to break. So the power increases with the number of individuals who are at the same level. That makes it possible for the evolution to go to the next step. Otherwise, no. He's saying, let us know that no effort of man is wasted. It is recorded in the race memory and in the universal subconscious and intraconscious. Everything, whatever you have done, is not wasted. And so I can tell you here also that what mother has done, she was trying to transform her body, but the work could not be completed. Okay? And Nolina said very clearly, the work of transformation of the body has been postponed. After mother's passing away, this is what is said publicly. Many people got angry, but its spiritual realism is very realistic. The work of bodily transformation has been postponed. But do you think that the work that she did is wasted? No, definitely not. Because she has been able to do that work right up to the subtle physical, as some people have said. That man from Belgium, he wrote that book, very interesting, on mother, and he says that the work she has done, it's a guesswork, but whatever it is, up to the psychic, up to the subtle physical, the work is done. So the next person who comes, they have to carry it, they have to do much less work. All the work that has to be done has been done foundationally by the mother. Okay? So let us know that no effort by man is wasted. It is recorded in the race memory and the universal subconscious and in the intraconscious. And it always aids the next attempt. It always helps the next attempt. Who can say that there has been no great spiritual attempts in the past? Of course, all failures are recorded too. But failures are only semi-successful attempts. A failure is not an attempt. A failure is not a failure. It's a half-successful attempt. As some American fellow said very interestingly, and it is a very ordinary politician who said that, but it's very interesting. He said that a failure is not a failure. The failure is when you lose the will to continue and succeed. That is the true failure. That's exactly what is meant here. You must not, you go on failing, but ultimately, if you give up the will to progress, the will to succeed, that is the true failure. Okay? So, today we stop here, and this paragraph, very interesting paragraph, we'll do it next time. Okay? I'll make a note, and I wish all of you a very nice day. Au revoir, everybody. Have a nice day.
Thank you.